all things nutrition, straight up. I'm one of your hosts, Christina Rice. I'm a holistic health coach, nutritional therapy practitioner in training, and the creator of the Paleo Women Lifestyle Program. You can find me on my website and blog, ChristinaRiceWellness.com, as well as on my other podcast, Wellness Realness.
And I'm your other host, Kara Halderman. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner from Dallas, Texas, NLP master practitioner and mindset coach, and creator of careaboutit.com. In this podcast, we'll be discussing all things paleo, health, and nutrition, along with answering questions straight from you.
If you'd like to submit a question for us to answer on the podcast, head to straightuppaleo.com or email us at straightuppaleo@gmail.com.
Remember our disclaimer. Materials in this podcast are only to be used as advice and are not to be used in place of general medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
If you want to support the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a rating and a review on iTunes. Enjoy the show! You... Sup! Hey!
Sup from, where are we? Vancouver,
The Couve?
Washington.
The Couve.
Yes.
Is what the cool kids call it.
Yeah. We're both here together in the flesh.
Woo!
And as you can tell, we're actually going insane right now. We're going crazy because we just sat in a conference for 3 days and listened to like a million speakers talk about really cool things. And we are here to basically update you on life and our Portland/Vancouver extravaganza.
Yeah, it's been quite the show. 3 days, long days. So Kara and I are staying in a really cute Portland Airbnb, and we are just living and thriving together. We've been cooking some yummy meals for breakfast, and then every other meal we're going out to the best restaurants ever in Portland because we're foodies at heart.
Except no one agrees with us that they're like normal people that live in Portland. They have no idea. The restaurants that we're going to, they keep recommending, like, we go to bars and breweries and we're like, yeah, nah.
I don't drink.
Yeah, we're like, no, it's okay.
So a lot of really good food. Let's just say so. Cultured Caveman, Dick's Kitchen, Broth Bar, Harlow, Prasad. Where else did we go? Cure.
Yeah, Cure.
Cacao for that liquid chocolate.
You guys, listen. There is this place. I think it's just called Cacao, but it's in like downtown Portlandish area. And it's basically a shop of all chocolate. Like any kind of chocolate you want, you can get it. And they make hot chocolates and they have a 100% dark chocolate. 100%. I got mine with almond milk because I'm kind of a wimp. But Christina,
I got straight water and 100% cacao.
And we went crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was, I don't know what caffeine. I don't know. Like, does it have caffeine or it's the
it's cacao. I don't know, but we had a very beveragey day, and we had just come from T-Bar as well. And you guys know how sensitive I am to caffeine, so I had just come off of matcha and then had cacao. So, I mean, I was just SOL at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take you back to the beginning of our trip. So, God, we got in Wednesday.
Yeah.
We got in Wednesday at kind of the same time, and we just chilled at our Airbnb. And then, honestly, what did we do? We went to Cultured Caveman, right?
Yeah.
And I had sweet and sour chicken from Cultured Caveman, and their chicken tenders are breaded in like coconut flour, and it was super delicious. And everything there is paleo, if you didn't know. But it's a cool restaurant because if you're paleo, like, you know that you do not have the frickin' time to make like sweet and sour chicken, lasagna, like all this stuff, and they make it. So it was cool. It was cool.
No, it's nice because like I don't think it's hard to eat out paleo at all, but you're not eating like fancy things really, more extravagant. Yeah. Like I got shepherd's pie and they have that chicken bacon ranch wrap, and they have eggplant, or not eggplant lasagna, just lasagna, and just all these things that you don't find out often, and you might be too lazy to make yourself. So it was really good.
Yeah. The only thing I wish that they had was pizza.
Yeah.
Because I love pizza, and you know, it would just be really easy if they use like the cauliflower crust.
Yes, the cauliflower crust. It's so good, so yummy. That was actually, I'm surprised that they didn't have pizza. But yeah, if you guys haven't tried that out yet, you definitely need to. I think the next time I'm gonna do pesto.
Okay. One time I made this pizza. It's still in my mind. We didn't use a cauliflower crust, but it would be super good with it. We used pesto and we put duck sausage on it.
Where did you get duck sausage?
I bought it at the farmer's market. But we got duck sausage, and then at the time I was eating sheep milk cheese, so we did that too. But I really like the cauliflower crust because it has flavor. It's not just like bread. And it, first of all, it doesn't even have the texture of bread. It actually gets crispy and holds together, which is the most amazing thing for a paleo pizza crust. But it actually has flavor like herbs and spices and tastes like something. So you don't feel like you're just eating a piece of bread, basically.
No, I would eat it just, even if you didn't want to make it as a pizza. You know what I'm saying? I think it would be good just to use as sort of a bread.
Yeah, you could totally do
that. It almost is kind of, I don't know why, it kind of reminds me of focaccia. I don't know if it's just because I haven't had bread in so long.
Oh my gosh, it does.
It's really good and it holds up really well. And I like it because it is so fast. Mm-hmm. It's faster than, it's 15 minutes total, basically. Yeah. You preheat, you heat it in the oven for 5 minutes, take it out, add toppings, put it another 10 minutes. Yeah. And you're literally done.
Yeah. And I just saw our intern, Kelly, I think she posted that Cali'flour Foods, they now have like a wrap. Yeah. Did you see that she posted that?
They do have a wrap.
Yeah, so they have pizzas and they have a wrap, and it looked huge. It was like a giganto wrap. So if you want like a burrito or something, you could make that too. But it tastes awesome, and it's the fastest pizza I've ever made in my whole entire life, and it makes me never want to make my own crust again, to be honest.
I know, honestly, it's really good, and I told my parents, I told my dad, because growing up, we used to always have Pizza Friday. That was our thing, me and my dad. And he hasn't had pizza since he went paleo, except for one time when I made him cauliflower crust when I was home. And then now I'm telling him he can have Pizza Friday again because he can just pop it in the oven, because he's too lazy to make anything other than just like roasted vegetable. He doesn't do anything ever extravagant, you know? Yeah. So very excited about that. And if you guys want 10% off, use the code Straight Up Paleo, all one word, for 10% off. You go to Cauliflower.
That's right, Cali, CALI, flour, FLOUR, like, you know, baking flour, foods.com. We're double checking. Can you tell that we are a little loopy? Yeah. Yep, that's it. Cauliflowerfoods.com.
I couldn't remember if it was just Cauliflower or Cali'flour Foods.
It's Cali'flour Foods. We'll just keep drilling it into your brain. Cali'flour Foods. 10% off. And you too can eat pizza. Okay.
Yum. But since they didn't have pizza at that restaurant, we settled for our meals that were also delicious. But I got shepherd's pie. I don't think you care. The other stand-up place we went is Eben Bean.
Eben Bean was an outer body experience because it was so amazing. You guys have no idea. First of all, it was my birthday when we did all this stuff. Yeah. So it was like the best birthday I've pretty much ever had because I've never gone to so many restaurants in one day. And that's like my dream. And
that's why you gotta always birthday with me. Exactly. I'm good at it.
I told Christina that she needs to become like an LA tour guide or just a city tour guide in general and go on these foodie tours and charge people because she would make hella money.
No, I pride myself on being really good at that. Like showing everybody exactly where to eat. And I'm good at planning out days and like maximizing time. So I was very happy that you had such a good birthday. And I also, it was like my birthday too.
Yeah, basically, because her birthday's in April. So we just shared birthday, same thing.
Exactly.
But what did we even start out doing that day? We went to Harlow, I think, was our first stop. And we posted pictures on Instagram, but basically Harlow's amazing. And they have these beautiful like veggie bowls, macro looking bowls type things. And I got a vegetable curry with an egg on it. And it's just the most dreamy restaurant. Like it is so clean. They have shakers full of nutritional yeast, which is another dream. And I had a coffee. They have house made like almond milk, walnut milk, coconut milk, all of this stuff. And I don't know. I just like died and went to heaven.
And then we walked 20 minutes.
Forever.
We went, oh my God. It was not forever. It was 20 minutes. Kara doesn't walk anywhere. Meanwhile, I walk everywhere. Okay. We walked because Kara wanted to go to a dispensary. And so we went, and it was like an exclusive VIP club in there, and super nice and very aesthetically pleasing. And they had paleo edibles.
Oh my God, you guys. I got THC almond butter, and it is cinnamon roll flavored. Yes. Well, if you didn't know, I live in Texas, so marijuana is illegal. And basically, if you have any sort of marijuana on you, you're going to jail forever. So this was a really cool experience to go to a dispensary. But yeah, I got THC almond butter. I got like a chocolate bar, a weed chocolate bar, and something that was pre-rolled. So I kind of went like a little bit it wasn't even that expensive though, which was the really cool part. I thought I was going to be paying like hundreds of dollars because I've heard that it's just ridiculously expensive when you go to a dispensary, but whatever. I didn't. And it was, like Christina said, it was like an exclusive club. Like you didn't know it was a dispensary when you went into it. It was called Pharma with an F. It just looked like a white room. It looked like a doctor's office. Yeah. And you had to be let in this door, this like random door, and show your IDs all the way through, which I mean is kind of normal. But you got like CBD stuff, right?
Yeah, I got CBD oil and then that CBD chocolate because I don't do THC. I don't hang. I can't hang. I've never done a drug. And I'm never...
Except for caffeine.
Yeah, except for that.
Caffeine is a drug.
Whatever, but I can't hang. Yeah, but that was big for me. And then I tried the CBD chocolate, and I was like, wow, this tastes so good. It gave me all the feels. Yeah, but that was fun. And I just wish you could understand how it was like very pretty inside.
Yeah, it was clean. Yeah. Like it looked like a white like doctor's office, and then you enter it and it was like hardwood floors and open glass counters, and they had like, I don't know, it was just so cool. So if you're in Portland and you're interested in that kind of thing, like go to Pharma. It was neat. But we forgot to mention, before we went there, we were walking on our long journey there, and we went to this, like, what is it? Like an herb shop.
Yeah, it was like an herb shop.
Yeah, it was cool. But basically, it was a bunch of herbs and tinctures and teas, and we were geeking out. And they had like a wall full of adaptogens, and you can mix and match and make your own blends. And of course, we walked out with coffee substitute tea, typical for us. But that was one of my favorite stores. It was cool.
Yeah, that store was really, really awesome. So we went there, went to Pharma. Then we went over to T-Bar, got matcha, and we're buzzed, and I felt high. Then we walked to Cure, because Kara wanted, it was 3 degrees outside, and Kara wanted a smoothie.
We walked to the wrong Cure, first of all.
It's okay. It was
Why are there 5 million locations of Cure? Like,
okay, this is the thing about Portland that every time, like, I don't understand. It's like a ton. They're not chains, I guess, but they are chains.
They're like local chains.
Yeah, when I think of chain, I think like McDonald's, and it's not like that, but it's like good restaurants. There will be like 5 or 6 locations, all relatively close, which to me from LA that's really bizarre to me that they're all so close, and there's like 5 or 6 locations of one place. It's like that with Cure, T-Bar, Bamboo Sushi.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. There's just a lot. So I don't know. And then, so we went there. We randomly ran into our friends walking down the street, which was really random. Our friends, Stephanie, Lisa, and
Allie.
And talked to them. Then we went to the chocolate place, got high off cacao. That was like liquid.
liquid chocolate.
Yeah,
I
it was.
described it like somebody melted a 100% dark chocolate bar into a cup and added a little bit of liquid. That is what you're drinking. And if that sounds disgusting to you, then that sucks because it was amazing. But yeah, I don't know why I wanted a smoothie. We drank so many liquids all day that I felt like I got 0 calories, but I was also like not hungry. Yeah. It was really bizarre.
My smoothie tasted horrible. It tasted like water with spinach, which is the second time that's happened to me in the past month. So I think I'm just not ever going to order a smoothie out again. And then where did we go after the chocolate place?
We see how like my brain isn't working, but I know we went to Cultured Caveman again.
Yeah, we went there
for dinner. But after the chocolate place, honestly, I don't even remember.
I don't remember. It doesn't really matter.
No, we went to Whole Foods.
Oh.
Yeah, we went to the Whole Foods in like downtown Portland. Oh, yeah. We bought a face mask because that sounded intriguing. Yeah, that's like all we did.
Yeah, we went to Cultured Caveman, got din, and then we went to Ebb and Bean. Didn't we? Or did we do that the night before?
No, Ebb and Bean was that night.
Okay, we went to Ebb and Bean. It was delish. And it's just like, it's really cute for me to see your reaction to all these places because I like a lot of this stuff is like we have all this stuff in LA. And so I'm not used to like being around somebody who's like, doesn't have like that type of ice cream available to them, you know? So I love seeing your reaction to everything, and it's so cute.
Yeah. I mean, Austin is a cool food scene, and they have some stuff, but even Austin, like, does not compare to the amount of health food that Portland has. But Dallas is so corporate, so structured. They're not really like health focused. And if you live there, you know there's a solid 3 restaurants that you can eat at. So the fact that I could go in a restaurant and get like a paleo bowl or get freaking non-dairy ice cream with Nutella, hard shell, and like vegan caramel and gluten-free cookie dough, I freaked. Like, I absolutely freaked out. So it's cool to like get outside of your bubble and see all that. And if I lived in LA, like I told Christina, I'd be broke and sick, basically, because I would just eat froyo. I would eat froyo all day long. But yeah, that day was awesome. And I think I've been tired since day 1, to be honest. I get adrenal fatigue like in 5 seconds.
You were born with adrenal fatigue. So we did that, and then we got... Yeah, that's kind of like what we did the first day. And then the rest was the conference. And the whole weekend has been, we have to wake up early because we have to get there early. And we did get good night's sleep, though. We're all stocked up because Kara brought she brought the Squatty Potty and I brought the Somnifix. So we're just ready to go.
Honestly, Squatty Potty and Somnifix are like number 1. Like when traveling, if you bring anything, Squatty Potty and Somnifix. But more so the Somnifix because while you're traveling, it's hard enough to get a good night's sleep in a foreign bed, and it's hard to get deep into your sleep. And I think what really saved me on this trip was wearing the Somnifix every single night because I slept for the most part all the way through the night. I still think like there was some noise like stuff. I don't know. Yeah. I have like a noisemaker in my room, which kind of drowns stuff out. So I don't really wake up in the middle of the night, but I definitely felt way more refreshed when I wore my Somnifix, and I could tell my sleep quality was a lot better if I didn't have it.
Yeah, I agree. I have a really hard time sleeping at all when I'm in a random bed.
I know.
And I slept really hard, and like I had like vivid dreams every night. And this trip also made me realize every time I sleep in another bed, I realize how dependent I feel on the Somnifix. Like I was like panicking one night because, okay, you know those nights when it's like last night, we got in really late, or I did, you were asleep, and typical. I felt so, you know, when you feel so tired, you feel drunk. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't really want to take off my makeup. I don't really want to put, you know, you don't want to actually do anything. And I get in bed and I was like panicking. I was like, I was so tired, but I was like, the one thing I have to do is I have to put on the Somnifix because otherwise I will not sleep. And I was like panicking because I had to find it and get it open. So we love our Somnifix. And if you guys haven't tried it yet, you really, really need to try it out. And I guess we didn't even talk about what it is in case someone's new. It's mouth tape.
Yeah, it's mouth tape. So I don't know if you guys know who Mike Mutzel is, but he started this like really cool mouth taping trend. And basically what you do is you put tape over your mouth, but not just any tape. Somnifix came up with this hypoallergenic tape that goes over your mouth, and it has a little breathable vent where your mouth hole would be. So you're not suffocating, like you can still breathe through the vent in your mouth. And the idea behind this, which is clinically tested, by the way, that when you breathe through your nose most exclusively during the night, it helps put you in a rest and digest, parasympathetic sort of state. So you're actually getting into those deeper levels of sleep where your body and your mind are repairing. Whether if you're sleeping and breathing through your mouth and you're a mouth breather and you're snoring, you're not getting that really critical repair time when you're sleeping. So it's really cool sleep hack. And if you want to be a biohacker, just like hop on the trend now because it's about to blow up.
Definitely. Also affects your immunity. And if you know someone who snores, you need to give it to them because that will help. So make sure you go to somnifix.com or Amazon, either way. Use the code SUPSLEEP, SUPSLEEP, and that will give you 10% off. And if you use it, take a selfie in it, tag us in it so we can see. I repost when you guys do that. And also, I just love to hear about your experiences with it because no joke, this has changed my life. I love my Somnifix.
Ditto.
Well, speaking of the parasympathetic state and the sympathetic state, this is something that came up quite often this weekend.
Every single talk.
Yeah. At the conference. So the theme this year was, what was it? Live Nourished. Yeah. Okay, wait. So the conference we went to even explain? We went to the Nutritional Therapy Association annual conference, and both of us, so I'm currently in the Nutritional Therapy Association program to become a nutritional therapy practitioner, and Kara, as you know, is already a nutritional therapy practitioner. So this was her second conference and this was my first. And so basically it's 3/4 days, if you go the extra day, of a ton of incredible speakers, very long and tiring, and also a big room of vendors and really good alpaca sausage with organ meats inside, all of the things. But the main point are the speakers about a wide variety of topics. But this one was really focused around, how would you explain it?
So like the theme was Live Nourished, and I think they really took that to a whole nother level. The conference wasn't very like focused on the body. Like last year, the conference was all about the gut, and every single speaker had something to say about the microbiome and infections and SIBO, and it was very like focused in the physical body. But this year's conference was really focused on mental health, spiritual health, and I think that really was great for the theme because living nourished and like to be nourished, it doesn't just happen on the physical level with our food. It happens with our thoughts. It happens with the spirituality that we have or that we don't have. And it's like a full body experience. So they were really focused on that and incorporating mental health. Like there were some eating disorder talks there. The one that we just heard an hour ago was about energy medicine, and my mind is still like blown from it. So it was really cool. Let's see. What did we do Friday?
Well, I just want to say, like, I feel like this topic is, honestly, this is the way that functional medicine is going. And this is very much something that I think almost people think that this aspect of it is kind of old school, when really I feel like it's ahead of the cusp, because I think everybody in the space is realizing, okay, we know all this information, or maybe we don't know all of it, but we know a lot. There's only so much you can do with manipulating your food and your macros and taking supplements. And there's such a deeper connection like within us and with energy and other types of healing and our like mental health that, you cannot reach your full health potential until you address those aspects of your life. And those are the harder ones to address.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest points that kind of got driven home was that disease often is a cycle, and it starts when we're very young, and it starts with early childhood trauma that has just not been resolved in our lives and has not been expressed, and the emotions have not been dealt with properly. And when that trauma happens to us when we're really young, it creates an emotional response. It creates energy in our body, and that energy is lodged or stored in our body in some way. And if we do not push it out or we do not express it, then we will just create a cycle and a pattern of disease, because all energy, whether good or bad, it manifests into something if it just stays there. Mm-hmm. And if that energy stays in a certain part of our body and we don't get it out, it can turn into something else. So that was kind of just the whole theme, and we talked a lot about that. And I think it's a really good thing to bring up. So like if you're struggling with some sort of chronic health condition, or you've been sick or ill or not felt well for a really long time, they were kind of pointing at, sure, like address the food and address the diet, but if there's still stuff that's popping up, we need to go back. We need to focus on like mentally what happened to us, what events happened to us when we were young that were traumatic to us at the time, and have we resolved that? And if we don't resolve it, then that same pain will just keep manifesting in different physical ways.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about these traumas, but what you need to, I think is really important, is people hear that and they just kind of turn their minds off. They think, I didn't have a trauma. That we're using that, we're talking about just like any adverse event. And when you really think about it, it's kind of scary, because everybody has something like this happen to them, in my opinion. It can be, were you ever bullied in school? Mm-hmm. Did your parent ever say anything degrading towards you? Do you have a parent or someone who's important in your life who has a substance abuse problem? Are you talking down yourself with body image? Did you witness something negative happening to somebody else? Or did you actually, or it could be something more serious, like a serious trauma, like, I don't know, sexual abuse or physical abuse, or just any kind of verbal abuse, any kind of emotional abuse. But these are things that, like body image issues, like the bullying, these are things that the majority of people are dealing with. And so it's kind of a wide scope. And I think also for me, what was really interesting for me about this conference was so much of this was like, I have to like look at you when I'm talking. Sorry, we're like sitting next to each other because we're sharing a mic. But so much of this were things that I felt like I was just back in college and I was taking the exact same class. And I remember learning this exact same information, like seeing these exact same statistics, but I didn't process it because I was in such a different place in my life and didn't care about my health or the food, or didn't understand the impact of this really. And so it's like now I'm like they're giving us all this information and I'm thinking, okay, I already know all of this, but I didn't really know it. Mm-hmm. I didn't really process it and understand it until I'm rehearing it right now again. And I'm like understanding it in a new way. Like the woman today who was talking about like the ACEs, all of that. Like I took a whole class on that, but I just didn't even understand the connection between these adverse childhood events and then autoimmune disease. Like that never came up. It was just focusing on like, oh, all of these kids have these adverse events that happen. That sucks, that affects them long term, but not making the connection of how that can lead into like an autoimmune disease, for instance, an actual physical manifestation of that. So that was really interesting for me and like really helpful, and makes me think, okay, I used to always think my college education was a waste. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I just wasn't ready to accept and like process and understand the information until now I have this new information and this new outlook. Just reflections.
Yeah, I agree. Like we've probably all heard the same pieces of advice like many, many, many times, but like we're always at different places in our lives, and sometimes we're just not ready to hear certain pieces of information. So I can totally understand that. Like I wasn't ready for that piece of information probably 2 years ago, but it was staggering to hear. Like I always knew, like I always had a feeling that emotions in our body caused physical issues, because I know for myself, and you guys probably know as well, when you're stressed, like your digestion is a little bit more effed up. Yeah. And you just don't feel like on top of your game. Now, imagine like the analogy that they kind of gave in one of these talks was that like, imagine a kid that is in a hostel environment, like a hostile home environment, then they're in this constant stress response loop. And that energy gets stored in their body, and their nervous system, like they're in their cellular memory, remembers that experience. So now anytime that child is stressed, it's going to bring up that same physical response in their body. And even if you were not like abused as a kid, or even if you did not grow up in a hostile environment, like what Christina said, even if you had something that really like bothered you and changed your perception about life. Like for me, it was my parents' divorce. That emotional state that you gathered from that experience is stored in your cellular memory. And if you do not deal with it, that cellular memory, whenever you get stressed or have a similar situation happen in your life, will keep repeating over and over and over again. And that's like the biggest piece that I took from all of this, even though, like you said, I already knew this. I knew that, but seeing the science behind all of that was really eye-opening, and it made me realize that this isn't as woo-woo as I thought it was. Like there's real science showing that emotion is stored in the body and manifests disease, which is scary, but good news is that there are so many different techniques and like ways to go about that. And they brought up some of them there. I wish they went over like more techniques to get rid of those emotions. But I think this conference was mainly about awareness, and I'm glad that the theme was kind of geared more towards mental health, because I think that's the way that we're going.
Yeah. No, and I think same with me. I feel like, you know, it really helps to put a lot of things in context in my own life. You know, I think back things that happened to me growing up, or childhood, and then what's happened with my health, and things make sense more. And some of the things that they were saying, I just wish, I mean, you know, it's like dealing with clients and you tell them, we have to work through this emotional stuff. Like we try to work with clients on things that they think are irrelevant. And you're like, no, you don't understand how relevant this is. Like your digestive problems are never going to go away until you do the therapy part, until we talk about what's manifesting in your stomach, you know, or the thyroid in the throat, which we've talked about you have explained that on this podcast before. Yeah. And she just brought it up again today, you know, like when you're holding things in, like when you're holding in your emotions, and these can manifest as, for instance, thyroid issues. I mean, it just really comes full circle, and I feel like my brain is buzzing.
It is.
Should we like maybe there are some talks I want to recap more than others, but maybe we should just give a brief kind of overview.
There's one talk. There's one woman, Dr. Deanna Minich. She's like one of my favorite people. She was on the podcast Low Carb Conversations. If you guys listen to that episode is still up, and we interviewed her, and she's great. And Dr. Deanna Minich, she's all about like color, and she kind of connected food to our chakra systems. So if you're not familiar with chakra systems, they are like energy systems throughout our body, and they kind of like run from your crown of your head down to your pelvic bone, and they're just energy centers. And they all have a different purpose for us in our body. And I'm sure you're familiar with chakra systems by now. We do live in 2018, but she related food to the chakra system, specifically the colors of the chakra system. And I thought that was really cool. So like our our like root chakra, its color is red, and that chakra is all about safety and security and being like really grounded. And so if you feel off like in your root chakra, if you don't feel safe or grounded, it's kind of like balancing that through eating red foods and like grounding foods. So like tomatoes and red meat, and those are the foods and that are going to help you feel like grounded and safe. And same like going up through the whole entire chakra system, like yellow foods, which is your solar plexus area, which is like your digestive fire, eating things like citrus and yellow foods to help get the fire back in your digestive system going. And all of this like is really metaphorical, but I think using stories and metaphors and colors really actually helps people relate to their bodies more. And that really related a lot to me. I love like explaining things from the body like through story form. And I just really love what she has to say. So if you like don't know who she is, you should totally look up Dr. Deanna Minich. We did this really cool meditation type thing at the end where we did like a close-eyed process, and she had us like wash over all of the colors over our body. Like imagine that red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, and white were like washing over our body one at a time, and see how that felt for us and like what color resonated more for us. And that would kind of tell you a little bit more about which chakra needs balancing, like what colored foods to incorporate a little bit more in your life. And I was having serious back issues on this day. Like I don't know what I did, but like my lower back was not feeling good. And I like had this connection to the color red, which low back is in that root chakra, that red chakra. And I really focused during that meditation on like washing red over me. And ever since I did that, so my back like actually felt better. Like it was kind of weird, but I didn't even really want to believe that happened, but it was neat. And I just like her. Like she's a really personable, cool.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. That one was definitely very interesting. We should get her on the show.
Yeah.
We're going to try and get everybody on the show. Another one that I want to talk about was the eating disorder one, just because that was so, my niche. And I had very mixed feelings about it, to be completely honest, because I loved it in the sense of I felt like the population of people there receiving the information didn't know all this, and it's really important. For me, I'm very aware, I'm hyper aware of how prevalent all these eating disorders are. I feel like compared to everybody else, I feel like people just don't understand how widespread, like what's going on right now, especially with this newer generation. And so I think that was really eye-opening for people, like the statistics, like one person every 62 minutes, right, dies of an eating disorder.
Yeah.
Like all these statistics it's, 80% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. Like that's insane.
That's like not okay.
It's not okay. And they just, there was some good education about just the differences between different types of eating disorders. But and I just think spreading awareness about this, but I had an issue with the fact that, well, this isn't with her, but I'm still irritated by the fact that orthorexia isn't in the DSM. I think it's total BS because orthorexia is an issue and whatever. That's my own personal thing. But I felt like the thing is, I felt that the person speaking had kind of a slant of, if you care about, we've talked about this before. If you care about your health and about the ingredients, that's like an eating disorder indication. Do you know what I mean? Or that you can't, more so like if somebody has an eating disorder, they can't overcome it without like, you know what I mean? Without eating everything, without any food rules is kind of how I felt she was coming across.
Oh, I don't know if I felt that she was like saying that or not. I think she was just, you're right. She was like a little bit on that side because somebody asked like this really good question. Yeah. Somebody asked the question, how do you differentiate being an NTP or a nutritionist and being orthorexic? Yeah. And she didn't really know how to answer it.
That was my problem. Yeah. My problem was that she didn't know how to answer it. Like she didn't know the difference. And to me, that difference is so clear. Like I've lived that difference. And like, to me, that she couldn't explain the difference. And also when people were bringing up, like somebody asked something about, what do you do if somebody like has these restrictions and they need to recover? And she basically was saying, well, during that time, then they shouldn't have those restrictions. And I'm sorry, but I recovered with a paleo diet. I've helped numerous of my clients, go through their process of recovery because I truly believe it depends on the person. Some people, like it is very individualized. Some people do need to get rid of any Eat anything you want. Other people, it's going to cause more issues if eating a certain food is going to make them physically sick and ill. That's just going to make them more afraid to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's totally possible to recover on a whole foods diet, and it's also totally possible to recover while not on a whole foods diet, and depends on the person, and you don't have to do one or the other. I think that whatever way you need to recover is the right way to recover. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just about like finding, once again, what works best for you. And I mean, that's really all I had to say about that talk. I liked it just because it brought a little bit more awareness of like us as practitioners, we do have like an agenda. Like we want you to eat better, you know? And the last thing that I want to do for a client is push them into feeling restrictive with a protocol and like trigger something that was already brewing inside of them and push it into a full-blown eating disorder with like my AIP or paleo recommendation. So she gave really good tips of like quote unquote screening for eating disorder, like tendencies. So that's what I liked about it. There were so many, I don't even remember like everything.
But what was hard was like, I felt like she wasn't getting to the root of it, because to me, I was reading these, you know, indicators, and I thought these are basically applicable to every single person.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. Eating disorders, I swear, almost apply to every single person. I think her statistic was 1 in 4 people have an eating disorder. Guys, 1 in 4. Yeah. Like, that's basically everyone. And
that's a diagnosed eating disorder. We're not even talking about just disordered eating habits. I'm sorry. I still maintain that I think everybody has, if they don't, has at some point in their life had some type of disordered eating situation. Yeah. Just because they live in, now, the time.
Yeah. And I just think she was very clinical about it. That was just my only thing, was like, she was just super clinical and like, go see a therapist, go have a doctor, like have a team, which is all really great things. And I think some people need that. But there was no, like you said, like, let's get to the root of this issue. Yeah. It was very much so surface level. Yeah,
that was my thing. I felt like it was super surface. And I think that's also just a bias to myself, because I think part of that was, I think the really tough one to grapple with is the orthorexia. Is no one really knows what to do with it, because once that becomes in the DSM, you're going to see eating disorder rates just skyrocket. It's going to be insane. And I mean, even I was never actually diagnosed officially with an eating disorder. Like for insurance, I was like, my therapist used my diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder and depression to treat me, because I didn't fit the books for anorexia or bulimia, but I clearly had orthorexia. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and I know the woman who was speaking was, I mean, she was amazing, right? But like she was speaking from, I think part of it has to do with the personal experience. Like what I said, like I know the difference between being orthorexic and just caring about health, being an NTP. Like I know the answer to that because I've lived the difference, you know? And I don't, like she hasn't. So I think that's why she just like didn't understand, because she struggled with anorexia. So she understood that perspective. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know what you mean. I don't really have like a whole lot to say about that talk, but
that's basically it.
That's basically it. It was super clinical, and I saw that it actually really did impact a lot of people in the room very positively, because I guess we talk about this a lot, but there's still a lot of people that are not talking about this and that cannot recognize the behaviors of eating disorders in their clients. And I mean, you can probably even recognize it in your friends that you have. So it was a really good discussion to be had. I think just we talk about it so much that we wanted more.
Yeah, I agree. I know I agree. I think it's really good. I think it's the older generation doesn't even, I mean, I had that experience myself, like, just dealing with so many nutritionists, and I thought, like, when I was in my eating disorder, and none of them were talking to me, like, they didn't think I had an eating disorder, and in my head, I was just expecting somebody to say something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I feel like they just don't know how to recognize it, so I think it's good to start bringing awareness up to it. But who else? Really quickly, I just kind of want to recap what Darryl Edward said. There's not much, but he's really into just like primal movement. He's a great person in terms of exercise and movement, and just kind of reiterating the idea that we need to be moving more. And you don't have to do like formal exercise necessarily, but his recommendations in a nutshell were that people should be moving at a low level between 1.5 to 2 hours a day, ideally, and resistance training 2 to 3 times a week. And that doesn't necessarily have to be classic resistance training, but like, how would you explain?
Yeah, he did something called Primal Play, and it was cool because he had these little like mini breakout sessions, and this is what he considers to be like low level type movement. Like, it was weird. It was just like you partnered up with somebody and you're like pushing them around and like, I don't know, like chasing people. He made fitness more like play.
It's like playing tag.
Yeah, like playing tag or like play fighting or whatever. It was really cool. I honestly like did not participate in it very much. I am like not following his recommendations whatsoever this weekend. I didn't even like want to go on walks because it was too freaking.
I tried to force her, you know me, and she wouldn't do it.
I just couldn't, guys. It was too cool. I just didn't want to do it, honestly. But yeah, I like his recommendations. I'm just trying to think of how people can fit in that much time in their day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I brought up to him. Like, I do it, but I don't think I could do it if I think I could, but people have to like put it into their day. So what you have to do is you take that 15-minute break between when you get to work and lunch to walk. You walk for half your lunch. You go on a walk for that afternoon break, and then you go on a walk when you get home at some point.
Yeah. Well, what he was saying was like cardio or walking on its own is not enough. Yeah. And going to the gym for 45 minutes to an hour and lifting weights is not enough. You have to do both. And it doesn't need to be like high intensity like training for that full amount of time whatsoever. You just need both in some form throughout the day. So some form of resistance training and some form of like steady state cardio, like, or just gentle walking, like overall movement. I just liked the message of overall movement increasing. Bless you.
Sorry.
But yeah, he was cool.
Yeah. He was cool. Pretty like, I feel like pretty standard, but we know.
But I will say he's got some mad dance moves. Oh my God. So there was this like reception, banquet, whatever, dinner thing on Saturday night. And I stayed. Christina went to eat paleo burgers.
I stayed I only left 30 minutes early.
I know. I stayed, and then my friends from Austin like pulled me onto the dance floor, and I was like, no, like I don't want to do this. And then I got on the dance floor, and like Darryl Edwards was busting moves, and like it was just really hysterical to see a bunch of NTPs dancing, and I knew none of the songs because there were like 80 songs. I felt like.
No, you guys, I don't know how to explain it. It was so funny because it's like imagine going to prom and it's all of your teachers dancing. Like, you're just watching all of your teachers. Like, that's what it is with the NTA, you know? Or I felt like it was like this big family reunion, and I'm watching my grandpa, my grandma, and all my aunts and uncles like on the dance floor. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And they're just busting out the moves to Journey, and you just don't even. But it was a fabulous time.
Okay, anyone who's an NTP or going through the program right now, Gray Graham did the worm. And it was honestly the highlight of my life. Christina and I, we met Gray and his son Grayson. Cute name. And it was, the highlight of our day. Yeah. Like, we couldn't stop smiling. Okay, but I wanted to talk once again really quickly about another talk. It had nothing to really do with mindset at all. I just wanted to talk about like the low carb panel.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, there was a low carb panel, and it was with Jimmy Moore. He was kind of like moderating. I'm really happy to have met him in person. He's like just as genuine and cool as he is on his podcast, and he's like the person that got me into podcasting. So it was awesome meeting him. Yeah, so Kara has like known Jimmy and been friends with Jimmy for a while, and she always says such great things about him, but I had never talked to him or met him before. And he is like just like he's like a teddy bear. He's this nicest guy
He's like has infectiously positive energy, I feel like. I love him.
Yeah, he has super positive energy. He wants to like hug everyone. And he like gave us his book, Cholesterol Clarity, and signed it. And that's just plug for him. It's a great book if you like want to learn more about cholesterol and fats and how they intertwine and all that kind of stuff. But
and his other book, Keto Clarity, is like the classic keto book. That was like the first keto book I ever read.
Yeah,
it's like what's the word? It is the keto book, basically.
It is the keto book. But this panel, I actually thought was great because it was the majority of them up there were women. So Jimmy Moore was the only guy, and then there was Leah Williamson, who was my other co-host on Low Carb Conversations, the podcast I did before this, and then Shawn Miner. You guys probably know her. She has a Keto for Women podcast, and it was interesting to hear it coming from like the majority be women. Like you would think, oh, keto panel, it's all going to be guys, but it was cool for it to be women. I mean, what's
much needed, and also makes so much sense because who was the audience? 98% women.
True.
Most NTPs are women.
True.
So
what like stood out to you? Did anything stand out to you about that talk?
Well, I just love this. I loved Leah's focus on nutrient density. It was very, it felt sort of Terry Walsey, you know, the focus on the organ meats and the sea vegetables. Like I love that she like pulled that out because I think that's really important. What about you? Did anything stand out to you?
The one thing that is just like a theme for me with keto is that like nobody seems to understand carbs.
Yeah.
Like nobody understands carbs whatsoever. Like there's just so many things circulating about carbs that like women don't need them, women do need them. How much do I eat? Like it was just an ongoing thing. Like, do I need a carb up? All of this stuff. And we didn't really get to any definitive answers.
Kind of dancing around. Okay, so you have to understand, Kara and I were like the whole time writing things down because we both took everything in us to run up there and just like interject our opinions. Like I wanted to be on that panel.
I know.
Even though
we're not even keto.
Yeah. Well, debatable.
We don't know, but I don't know.
Until last week.
I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself like a keto or even low carb person. Like I don't even want to put a label on what I eat, but I'm still fascinated by this subject.
We understand it. We've both done it. We both really understand it very well. That's how I'm going to put it.
Yes. And I think just the one thing that if you listen to Shawn Miner, the one thing that she drives home and that Leah drove home is that you need to eat enough food on keto, and that the problems arise when you're on keto and you're so full that you're like reducing your calories, and that's where thyroid goes wonky, hormones go out of whack, and just the big emphasis was eat enough food, and that you need to either like work with someone or really be in tune with your body to figure out what macronutrient like ratio is appropriate for you in that context. But it was not very like cookie cutter keto talk, which is what I liked, because the cookie cutter keto talk, you know, is eat like 80% fat, like 20 grams of carbs a day, and moderate protein. And I still, honestly, I still feel like I don't know what moderate protein is, but whatever.
No one knows. Well, the way they classically, this is the thing, is I feel like there's so much bio-individuality when it comes to keto. So certain people do really have to, quote, moderate the protein and bring it down. Certain people can have a ton of protein and it works. Same with carbs. Some people can have a lot of carbs and still be in keto. I'm one of them. And also, I think depends how long you've been in ketosis. There's a difference between when you're trying to get into ketosis versus long term. Like sometimes you can find like your carb tolerance increases, your protein tolerance increases, and how active are you? Like if you're really active, you could probably handle more carbs and more protein and stay in ketosis. And even same with fat. It's like some people need a crap ton of fat and others don't need as much for that to be high fat for their diet. So it's just so bio individual.
That's why keto is tough.
Yeah.
Like that is why it's, I feel like such a hot topic right now, and why there are so many people speaking out about it, because they're discovering that one macronutrient ratio is not going to work for everyone. The original like ketosis diet was meant for epilepsy patients and like people with neurological conditions. And it was a therapeutic diet of like 5% carbs, which is like 20 grams or less total, and like more than 80% fat. And that was for therapeutic reasons only. And now it's become mainstream, and people that don't need it for therapeutic reasons want to adopt it. And we're beginning to realize that we can't put everyone on 20 grams of carbs or less a day because they just don't have to be there. And it's interesting.
And one of the main things that they first drove home that is really important is that people say keto is a low carb diet, and it's not just a low carb diet. It's a low carb, high fat, moderate protein diet. But the key thing I think with it is the high fat. It's like the combination of those things, but people need to be eating enough fat.
Yeah.
You have to have enough fat because when you take away the carbs, your body has to have a source of fuel. Okay? Like it has to. So you need to add more fat so that your body has something to run off of. So that's the important piece. So you can't just, because I did that too accidentally. When I first went paleo, I just like removed carbs basically and also didn't add any fat. So I felt like I was a piece of death is basically what happened.
Yeah. But that was kind of it.
Well, and this is the thing is, so for example, somebody asked a question, they said, my clients want to be in ketosis, but they don't want to, like, how often can you have alcohol? And then this is where the frustrations come in with people. They're like, well, how am I supposed to do this if I can't have alcohol really very often? Well, then why do you have to do keto?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's your priority? Is it the keto or is it like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's making you do keto and no one's making you drink alcohol. So pick, you know what I mean? Like, what's your priority? Like, people are just saying they want to do keto and they don't even know why.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you need to drill down. If you want to do keto, why are you doing it? And I gotta be honest, if weight loss is up there at number one, you probably shouldn't do keto. Okay? Like, it is for health purposes only, and you probably need someone to help guide you through because you're gonna mess up along the way. It's just a freaking given. But I was impressed that the panel was women and that Leah really focused a lot on the nutrient density aspect of keto, and they both talked a little bit about how it's like it's not designed to be a restrictive diet for people that like don't need the therapeutic benefits of ketosis. It's just to kind of help you shift metabolically from being like a sugar burner to teaching your body how to burn fat, because let's face it, like we don't know how to burn fat anymore. I mean, long term, that is. Our body knows how to burn fat, but long term, we don't. So it's just a good tool in the toolbox to teach your body new things, and ketones are an inflammatory molecule. So it can be beneficial for a lot of people.
Yeah. We had a lot of questions we didn't get to ask, but we are going to have to get those addressed because but I just think it's really important just reiterating, and Jimmy was saying this too, people ask what should my macros be or what percentage fat, and he's like, it depends on the person. It's going to be different. And people are trying to follow this therapeutic macro ratio, right, for therapeutic ketosis, and they don't necessarily have to. I think the goal should be and I think Sean said this too, to eat as many vegetables as you can, but still maintain ketosis. If you want to be in ketosis, why wouldn't you see how high you can push your carbs and push, like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to get as many different micronutrients in there as possible. So why are you following, why are you doing 5% carbs if you could be at 10 and still be in keto? Yeah.
Like, honestly, I would never do that just because I love vegetables. Like, that much we're obsessed. I could never go back to 5% carbs unless there was a serious issue. But yes.
That was kind of the main thing.
Okay.
And do you have any other talks that you want to highlight before we wrap up?
I think we kind of explained all the talks that happened today because they were like fresh on our mind. But Danielle de la Valle, what is her name?
Yeah,
I gotta look it up.
Del Valle.
Yes, Danielle de la Valle. She's a nutritional therapy practitioner, and she wrote this book called Happy Weight. I've actually never read the book, but it was recommended to me a lot by people, and it's basically kind of just about body positivity in general. And she gave a really inspiring talk. Like, I'm not kidding you guys. I teared up like 12 times today. I felt like an emotional like roller coaster all day because it was like a really heartwarming day. And her whole point of the talk is that like, why are we relating the way that our bodies are to our physical worth out there in the world? And that like, when people see us for who we are, she wishes that our bodies were not a part of that, and that people could just see us for who we are, like our personality, our soul, like all of that, and look beyond the physical body and how we've been conditioned to see somebody's self-worth as their physical image. And I think that's kind of what her book was about. Like, her past history was that she worked in a keto weight loss clinic, and she said that she like would, the first thing she would do is weigh people when they came in, and she realized that that was not healthy. Like, she was shaming them. Like, every time they came in, like, these people were here to get to like save their lives and like lose weight, but she could see that just by stepping on the scale with them, that was their greeting, and it was instantly shaming these people. And so even though they were here for good reasons, they were leaving with more like of an unhealthy mindset, and that people were thinking like lowly of them. So they're still gonna not have a positive body image even if they are losing weight. And it was a really inspiring talk, and I cried like 12 times. So
I have to be honest, it was a little like deja vu for me, because like I felt like I was listening to when I talked to the girls in my program at Body Image, because we had the whole body image section, and it was really weird for me because I'm used to like saying these things, but I haven't been like listening to it, I guess, in a while. And I think it's just really important that we bring more awareness to just the idea of how we're communicating with each other. Like, talking about, especially at the end, you know, why is it the first thing that someone brings up? Oh, it looks like you lost weight. Or it looks like you. And I talked to you about this over the holidays. The first thing that everybody said to me was that, I mean, they made a comment about my weight. Yeah. And people were saying, some people were just like, oh, people literally said, you got fat. You fattened up. You got chubby. And I was like, why is that the first thing you're saying to me, right? And why is the first thing you're saying to me related to my weight? But I felt the same way when a few years ago I went home for the holidays, and it was like, wow, you lost a lot of weight. And I just remember feeling like, I wish you wouldn't comment about my weight either way. And why is that, like, what does that say? Like, what does that say about the person when the first thing they're saying to you is about your body or how you look? Or even, you know, when we feel so insecure, I think about in high school when I was so insecure about the way I looked, and, you know, what was I going to wear? What was my makeup like? What was my acne, my face? And because I knew that was the first thing people were going to judge. And it's really interesting because, you know, it's easy for us to preach, like, don't care what other people think. Like, it doesn't matter if you have a zit on your face. It doesn't matter if your hair is ugly. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. That doesn't have anything to do with your self-worth. But the truth of the matter is, we feel that way because we judge other people based on how they look. That's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. And I had a couple thoughts about this. So I actually think it's normal for us to judge people on appearance. And don't scrutinize me yet, but it's normal because biologically we're hardwired to recognize healthy people. We gravitate towards the people, like, that was our first primal instinct, was based off of how
let's say you pick a mate in your tribe, and who protects you. It's who looks strong, who looks fertile. It's just why it has to do with, you know, pheromones. Like, we have all these senses, but go on.
Yes, so that's it basically. It has to do with our primal instinct to want to attract healthy women to bear children, and strong men to take care of our family, and just a good tribe. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I think it's wrong when we start to place like judgment on people. And I think that's what she was getting at in the talk. And I wish we could look at people and, like Christina said, like, this hit home to me because I preach this stuff, but sometimes I don't do it. And I wish we could look at people and not judge. I think that's kind of like the ultimate goal in life, is to not judge a situation and not judge a person, just to like see a situation or see a person for what it is or who they are, and just kind of go with it, but not make any sort of judgments. And that's kind of what I got from it. And the reason I got so emotional during the talks as well is because I talk about all these things and I preach all of these things, and I think that I'm very body positive, and I am like 90% more body positive than I ever used to be in my whole entire life, but I still carry around some of the stuff that I had about my body from like years ago. And I think it got brought up during that talk, and I was like, wow, I don't think I've fully dealt with some of these emotions. And it brought back up like thoughts of when I was younger and when I was a teenager. It all started when people started calling me thick. And the fact that I got emotional about it like rung a bell to me that was like, I haven't fully dealt with this yet. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to move past this and be like my happiest self until I fully deal with that emotion. And weight was always like a big thing in my household too. So I'm now just realizing, like, even though I've made amazing strides, and that is something to be super proud of, I think I need to go back and just deal with it and just like get it out of the way. So it was a great reminder that we always have a little bit more work to do, but be really proud of where you've come and how far you've come as well. But I didn't even realize that some of my negative self-talk was still there. Like, we don't even realize what we're saying to ourselves sometimes until somebody else brings it up. So all of today's talks have been super eye-opening, and realize that I need to practice a little more of what I preach. It's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day life and like forget your rituals and routines and stuff like that. And I've totally like forgotten all of my rituals and routines for the past month, which is what helped me move towards this place of where I am, like daily meditation. And I do a lot of affirmations and behavioral modification techniques. And I totally lost it. Like, I fell off the wagon, and I hate that term. Why did I even say that? Fell off the wagon. Like, I hate that. Anyways. And it's easy to slip back into like those thoughts and habits when you are not consistent and on routine. So it just was a reminder that I need to deal with some stuff and get back on routine, and it's all good.
I think it is really interesting to like ask yourself, anyone who's listening to this, you know, where did this stem from? Because I was trying to think of this. I was trying to think, can I pinpoint the moment in my life where it all began? Like, when was the first body negative or body positive comment or remark that ever got thrown at me? I can't even think about it, because it was as long as I can remember. It was always. And so I think that's a very interesting exercise to see if you can remember, you know, what kind of trigger something or something specific that happened. Because I mean, I've been, ever since that talk, I was trying to just rack my brain. When did this start? And
you can't remember?
I honestly, like, every time I think I remember, I think of something earlier. Okay. And then I think of something earlier.
So I'm going to tell you this. So if you really cannot remember, there's the first time that an instance happened to you. First of all, if something is a consistent reoccurrence in your life, usually it stemmed from a time from when you were 0 to 7 years old. That's when we build all of our beliefs in our life are 0 to 7. And because that's when our brain is in something called theta brainwave frequency, which is one-time programming. Everything goes right in and it sticks with us for life. And if you cannot usually remember like where something came from, this is going to be a little out there, but it's oftentimes coming from like past generations. Like, this has been something that has been carried to you from either like a past life experience or something within your family, that, because like feelings, thoughts, emotions, they do carry through families. And whether you believe in past lives or not, I do. experiences from past lives oftentimes can carry into our present day consciousness. So there are also techniques for like resolving that. And shameless plug, these are going to be in my upcoming ebook. So if you're interested in that, like go for that. But I just want to bring that up because I see that like a lot in the classes that I take is that people try to pinpoint it and they're like, I just like don't know where this came from. And oftentimes it's not yours. Like that's important to know. It's not yours. Yeah. Somebody gave you those thoughts and it's important to recognize it's a possibility.
No, I mean, I totally can see that. I think for me though, just the fact that like I can think of specific moments when I'm really, really young and it scares me. And I'm thinking, I remember being 3 and my mom saying that. That's really, and that's just showing what it's like in our society. And I kind of just really want to go back to what you were bringing about our primal instincts because it's true. Like this is how we are designed genetically, to be able to, sort of make judgments on people. But this is what the problem is we are in a state of mismatch now because what we think of now as quote, beautiful isn't healthy and strong and fertile anymore. Because when we're judging someone that they are not stick thin, well, guess what? Like that isn't a sign of being fertile and healthy and strong. What our primal instincts are supposed to tell us, okay, this person is somebody who you should want to mate with, who you should want in your tribe, in your group. But we have put other judgments onto what we think we want to mate with and want to have in our tribe, who's cool, who's not, So basically our genes and our brains are kind of going for two different ideals. And then that's why our judgments now just suck, honestly.
That's so true. And so I feel like there is just terrible media brainwashing going on. And I actually, like, my personal belief is that they're doing this because they want to disrupt us and they want to tear us apart and they want to confuse us because it makes us more susceptible to control by like government and by media. And that's their goal. They want to control us. They want us to buy things. They want us to do whatever they want them to do, or they want us to do. And it's important to kind of like recognize that a little bit. And when we have these desires to be like stick thin, or I don't know, like alter our bodies like that, it's going against those primal instincts, and you're kind of like feeding into what they want. Not necessarily like you're entitled to do whatever you want to your own body, like whatever, you can dye your hair, who cares? Like it doesn't matter, but I'm just bringing that up as a point.
And even talking to the dyeing your hair thing, it's really confusing nowadays. What is? I mean, she used the example of dyeing her hair, but to me, it's like I don't see dyeing your hair a certain color as a sign of like negativity towards yourself. It all comes from what your intention is. I think it's like, are you dyeing your hair blonde because you think you're not pretty unless you're blonde, or do you like your hair every color but just you feel like blonde right now? Do you know what I mean? It's an intention behind it. But yeah, I don't know. It was a really important conversation. And I wish we could tell, like, there are so many things that I wish we could just tell you, but it would take us 3 hours. But I think those are kind of the main points that I wanted to cover. Did you have anything else?
Nope. Yeah. That was kind of it. I don't know. I just like want to give a shout out to the NTA because I love this organization. And if you are thinking about becoming a nutritionist, if you can call yourself that in your state, a nutritional therapy practitioner, a health coach, whatever, like this is the organization to be in, because not only are you getting a really solid foundational approach to nutrition, but you are gaining a tribe of people who believe the same things that you do. And like, I don't know, some of the people that I've met are just some of the most genuine, amazing people I've ever met in my whole entire life. And I would like not trade this experience for the world. And I love going to these conferences and getting to meet other NTPs. There's also a huge like vendor room that was really cool. And we got to talk with different brands, and I don't know, it's just a huge time to connect. So if you feel like you're like missing your tribe in the nutrition space and the wellness space, I really encourage you to like look into the NTP program and like reach out to me if you want to talk about it too.
Yeah, I second that. I love this program, and like Kara said, it will help you find your tribe. So, and if you sign up, like full disclosure, if you found out about this through us, put our name down as who referred you.
Yeah.
Because we get a kickback from that, and it helps us out, honestly. Yeah. And it doesn't cost you anything. So, but we seriously love that program, and everybody in the program is incredible, and you just feel like you find your community, you know? We're all just a big conference full of weirdos.
Yeah. Basically, but my stomach is growling. Like, here we go. So yeah, we're over here like, oh, we need food. We're going back to Cultured Caveman. It's our I can't even talk. I'm dead. It's our last night in Portland, and yeah, we just want to eat paleo food and ice cream and hang. So good chat, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you in the Facebook group. If you're not already in there, join Straight Up Paleo Pals. And if you haven't already, please leave a rating and a review on iTunes and subscribe, because it helps us a lot. And we hope you enjoy this recap. We will talk to you again next week. Bye. Bye.